I made a video talking about Bioshock 2 and how it had many iterations during its development, the most interesting of which was a horror-centric game in which you play as a grown-up little sister returning to Rapture to reconcile with her past by reclaiming lost memories. Apparently, this was supposed to be a third-person survival horror game, but 2K thought of Bioshock as an FPS in the vein of Call of Duty. While the devs were forced to submit to their overweight, balding overlords, I am not. As of now, this channel is not monetized, nor do I base my content off patrons' wishes, because, I don't have any patrons. Therefore, I am free to dream and free to create whatever I choose. So today, I choose to create a conceptual pitch for what a survival horror Bioshock could look like. Eleanor Lamb is jolted awake by a sudden halt in the passenger cruiser she's on. To her alarm, no one is on this massive cruiser with her. After investigating the seemingly abandoned boat, she reaches the lifeboat area and finds a bathysphere waiting for her. After boarding it, she is brought down to a decayed Rapture, void of any signs of life or light. After exploring the Welcome Center and restoring power, she is cornered by Sophia Lamb, who at first seems like an ally. Eleanor is initially thrilled to meet her mother, but once Sophia begins telling her daughter about her plans for atom-infused utopians, it becomes clear that Eleanor is in danger. After a slim escape, Eleanor is plunged into the horrors of Rapture, restoring power to get supplies and gain the aid of security systems, finding weapons to fight off splicers and precious items to trade with merchants, and resisting the urge to gain power from Adam that would also turn her into her mother's puppet with every drop. Imagine multiple endings for you if you avoid using Adam and your wits to survive, if you use Adam for a little extra power, or if you use Adam and gorge on it and become the big sister. I like Bioshock 2, so my horror spin-off will be keeping elements from the main game. Elements like hacking, and the hacking tool is a means of turning threats to your side, and traversal. Currency that can be used to buy from vending machines, which are rare in this game here, or merchants who use virtual avatars, which is another cut concept. Just imagine someone really fucked up using a cute avatar and trading with them, not directly. I wouldn't say virtually. I guess it's virtually if it's on the Numo system. It's basically like interacting with somebody on Discord. Usable or destroyable health stations. Do you keep them working at the risk of the enemies using them against you? I love how this system works, so I'm definitely keeping that in there. The whole little sister, lieutenant, and Adam-based morality systems. As I said, how much Adam you take will depend on the ending that you get. But I also like those moments in Bioshock 2 where you choose whether or not to kill or spare someone, and then of course all of your interactions with the little sisters will influence which ending you get. I want to keep in Sophia's cult. I think that's a really good antagonist for, this destroyed post-Andrew Ryan Rapture. I want to keep the alpha big daddies that function like the Flood. They hate you and everything else. I mean, Halo 1 is fun when you're just fighting the Covenant, but the game really gets spiced up when you have the Flood there that wants to kill everybody, and you're caught in between this three-way war. I'm keeping in splicers, however ammo is going to be rare in this version of Bioshock 2, so no shooting splicers. But spider splicers, the basic chargers, and Houdini splicers are all going to be there. The thing is, they're not really going to be bullet spongy. If you save your ammo and if you have guns to take these guys down, you're not going to be pumping 11 rounds of shotgun ammo into a single splicer. 1 or 2 shots will bring them down. I'm definitely keeping the big daddy systems, big sisters that show up to hunt you if you interact with all the sisters on that level. The big daddies are going to work as part of that Rapture ecosystem in the sense that you have the atom that's walking around being protected by the big daddy who only wants to protect the atom. Then you have the security systems which you can turn to your side, and then the splicers that want atom but also want to kill you. So there's just a whole bunch of different layers of interaction in a given level that brings it to life. So big daddies are really central to that. The big sisters are not so much going to focus as miniature boss fights, because in Bioshock 2, whenever you interact with all the sisters, the big sister comes and you have to fight her. In this version here, I want her to act more as a Resident Evil style pursuer, where you can try to hide from her, you can try to run from her, or if you stocked up on enough supplies, you can try to fight her. But yeah, the biggest thing is that these big sisters won't know where you are right off the bat, so you can try to sneak or evade them. Think about Mr. X or Lady Dimitrescu. I'm definitely keeping in the underwater sections. Eleanor will find equipment at one point that will allow her to walk on the sea floor. We'll talk about this more in a second. I'm keeping in Subject Delta, but a little bit differently. We'll go into that in a little bit. Playable little sister sections as flashbacks upon recovering memories. These will be like puzzle-based sections. So I'm keeping in that one segment where you actually play as a little sister, but I'm going to be expanding on that. I'm going to keep plasmids, however, I'm going to rebalance them. So there's going to be significantly less, so their role is going to be much more clear in the sandbox. And then of course the basic ideas behind the level design and what I mentioned before, the Rapture ecosystem. So the levels in which you have them start off really hostile and you can turn onto your side through the security and traps, the splicers, the atom, the big daddies, the sisters, the big sisters, all of these different layers and systems interacting with one another. Just because we're going towards survival horror doesn't mean I want to get rid of that, quite the opposite. Okay, so I've teased you guys enough. Let's talk about the things I'm going to be changing. And the first is probably the most important. This is a third-person dynamic camera. By this, I mean a camera that can liken to games like Haunting Ground or Metal Gear Solid 2, where the camera follows the player around and does different angles. This fits the survival horror aspect and allows the right stick to be utilized as part of the control scheme. No tank controls. I've seen a lot of YouTubers in their 30s complain about how the absence of tank controls in games like Haunting Ground due to having to adjust the direction you walk when the camera changes. So like if you have tank controls, you just hold forward and that's consistently forward wherever your character is facing. But without them, you're moving in relation to the direction of the camera, so forward in one area might be backwards in another. However, I think people who have grown up playing more modern games will have an easier time adjusting to this control scheme, as moving the left stick in a variety of directions come very natural to those of us who don't have gray in our hair. On the note of stick movement, I will have the plasmid use tied to the right stick. 4 will be equipable at a time, each with a corresponding direction. Again, very similar to Haunting Ground in the way you control Huey, whereas you press up if you want him to attack, you press down if you want him to stay close, right to praise him, left to scold him. A very similar type of system will be going on here. Tonic buffs will be incredibly simplified to reflect the shift from FPS with light RPG mechanics to survival horror. These will function like unlockable gear in Haunting Ground. A tonic that increases your speed, invisibility if you stay still, a defense upgrade, and plasmid resistances. An emphasis will be placed on resource management. This is where the Resident Evil inspirations come in. You see, I've been playing a lot of the Resident Evil remake, and there is one thing that makes it the king of survival horror. When Jill Cutie Patootie Valentine enters combat, I don't only have to worry about lost progress upon death due to limited saves, or the loss of precious finite healing items when I take damage, or my escape items being lost. Failure is not my only fear, because success means loss as well, loss of ammunition, time. Even if I win, I lose something. This ingrains combat in my mind as bad, and something to be avoided. Ammo, Eve, health kits, oxygen, money, every interaction with the enemy will result in the loss of something precious. So either save your resources and spend them wisely, or suck back that atom and survive with ease, at the cost of losing yourself in the collective consciousness, becoming the ultimate big sister. Let's do a really quick sandbox discussion, because a Pliskin Boy video wouldn't be a Pliskin Boy video without a good section talking about the weapon sandbox. So the Atom Needle will be your main melee weapon. Not as effective against unstunned enemies, but it can be used to get Atom from corpses. The World War II era pistol that Eleanor brings with her. It's weak, but you'll find 9mm is plentiful. There's this really cool shotgun from the early 20th century. It was made like a week before the Browning Auto 5, and it uses it's inertia driven, which is a really good system, very similar to like what the Benellis today use. It looks really cool. I haven't looked up the name of it. I'll probably put the name right here. But yeah, a cool kind of inertia auto shotgun. Very cool, very Rapture. Make it really ornate to fit with like the whole Art Deco theme. It's just a general enemy destroyer. So you're not going to go into massive boss fights with this thing to bring them down. However, for the splicers that come at you, if you have rounds in this, you can take them down a lot faster than if you were to just sit there and shoot away with your pistol. We'll have that like fictional grenade launcher from Bioshock. It's really cool, it's iconic, there's no need to replace it. This is your, it could be your crowd control with freeze nades, explosives, and underwater rockets. And underwater rockets are going to be really important for something we're going to talk about in a second. The rivet gun I'm going to keep in here, except I'm going to repurpose it to work like a magnum. Heavy rivets that you save for boss fights. Trap rivets, which are much more common, that you could use to set ambushes in the world. And of course, underwater rivets, which are just like the heavy rivets, but they work underwater, so it's like your underwater magnum as well. Then of course we have the spear gun. This is your main underwater weapon. The ammo is fairly common. Can also be used as a stealth weapon in Rapture, but you're better off saving them for water defense. Then of course I want to feature the hacking tool, for turning the environment to your side or just opening doors. I will still include mini turrets, however these will be like rare power items. So if you're traversing through Rapture and there's this really difficult hallway that enemies keep coming into and you have a mini turret or two, maybe you place them in here so when you're passing through, the enemies are either dead or busy dealing with something else that isn't you. But enough beating around the bush, let's talk about underwater combat. These amphibious enemies that were cut from Bioshock 2 give me Hunter Beta vibes. Fast, tough, and a serious threat. Hiding amongst the coral is your best bet, but don't wait too long because oxygen, just like ammo and Eve, is limited. You are on a timer the second you come out into the water, and you are outmatched. Ambush the monsters with powerful ammo and move through these areas fast, or you can watch Eleanor get ripped apart by these fuckers. Also, take a look at this underwater Big Daddy boss fight. I want to rework him into an angler Big Daddy. Picture this. Pitch black water. You swim to the echoed breaths inside of your diver's helmet, clutching your spear gun. Then in the distance you see a light. Thinking you avoided the amphibious splicers, you swim faster towards what you think is a Rapture entrance. Then, emerging from the depths, a massive barnacled Big Daddy rises up to crush you. Shoot his light to temporarily blind him and do damage. Just be ready to swim and hide when that light flashes back on. Based on what kind of ammo you find, you can also use pump rooms to flood or unflood certain areas. So for example, if you have a lot of underwater based ammunition and tools, you can flood an area of Rapture that will fill it with those amphibious splicers, but at least you have the ammunition to fight them. Versus if you don't have underwater weapons or equipment, or you're low on oxygen, you can unflood an area and then go in with your shotgun with all the normal splicers that are there. But it's not just combat. You can also use this for puzzles and traversal. Maybe there's a place or a door or a wall that you can't get by on foot, but if you flood the area, you could easily swim over it. A Bioshock game isn't complete without a friendly voice giving you lore and tutorials in an immersive way. In this proposed game, you'll have a charming individual called Johnny Topside, who will empathize with Eleanor's struggles. As an explorer who found Rapture and got trapped here, he knows what it's like to be out of one's depth. A basic dialogue interaction system a la Titanfall 2 will be implemented along with gifts of ammo, Eve, and other essentials from Johnny throughout your journey will help the player feel bonded with him, which will sting once you realize he's the original Alpha Big Daddy and your father, who is under Lamb's control. For a good ending variant, make sure you use your Atom Needle after beating him down to keep his consciousness alive and well within you. I love save rooms, and I think within the context of Bioshock, there are some cool things that can be done. Maybe it's a train car, or the bathysphere, or dedicated rooms within different levels. These will be places where Eleanor can use some atom and fusel machines, maybe a Vita chamber that's already built into the lore, or something else to save progress. A pneumotube system can be used for item storage and retrieval. Maybe we'll have it integrated into the merchant systems where you have to pay for storage or something like that. But where this gets interesting is the role the Little Sisters can play. Since the benefit of killing the Little Sisters is increased power and atom, the save rooms can serve as an incentive to resist the temptation for more power. Have the rescued sisters vibe in the save rooms. Occasionally have extra items for you, cool Easter eggs and interactions. You could also have different save themes depending on whether or not the Little Sisters are there or if you're a heartless monster. Probably the biggest change will be taking the Little Sister gimmick segment and turning it into a core gameplay mechanic. Eleanor is on a journey to regain her memories and take back her autonomy from her mother. Every time you rescue or harvest a Little Sister, Eleanor will first be able to possess the child and merge consciousness. Of course, this will be utilized for cool exploration and puzzles in the moment. However, I want flashbacks to occur in between this area. For each corresponding area, a different Little Sister will give you a different memory for that area. That different little memory will be a little puzzle level, a pursuer level where you have to run away from something, or just story beats that reveal crucial parts of Eleanor's past. I brought up a lot in this video, and at this point I'm hoping you can picture what this game would look, feel, and sound like. If there is anything you want me to bring up or elaborate on that I didn't bring up in this video, let me know down in the comments below. And who knows, maybe I'll make a sequel, because I really like talking about Bioshock 2. I wrote a script for this that's page upon page upon page, and I had a lot of fun doing it, so I wouldn't mind doing more. Anyways, this has been Pliskin. It hurts me every day that there is no survival horror Bioshock game like this, but I can dream. That's the beauty of YouTube. Anyways, over and out.
This is Solid Snake. Hey, subscribe to Pliskin Boy. God damn it.
You heard him.